the Business of Creativity podcast, brought to you by Adrian Silas. Welcome to episode 1 of the Business of Creativity. My name's Adrian Silas, and in this podcast, I want to talk about some things I've been thinking about for some time. It's for creatives like me who didn't take the standard path and who are building something piece by piece, right? Sometimes late at night, sometimes early in the morning, but always with that quiet belief that it's possible. This episode isn't a step-by-step tutorial. It's me talking to you through how I built my creative business, what I did right, and what I'd do differently if I was starting again. So, we'll start at this point. I didn't always know what I was doing. And honestly, I still don't. Not completely, of course. I didn't start this journey with a master plan. There was no vision board, there were no deadlines. It was just a desire not to be stuck where I was. I didn't want to live my life on autopilot. I didn't want to go to work, come home and do that for the next 40 years. It was depressing. Just the thought of that was depressing. But more than that, I wanted to build something on my own terms. I knew I had the skills. I knew I could work, and I could work damn hard. I just didn't know how to turn what I was good at into something that made money on a consistent basis. So I started with what I had, which at the time was beats. Let's talk about the bedroom studio hustle. So back in the days when I was making beats, I'd be recording artists. This must have been around about 2015. I was trying to market studio time on WhatsApp groups and Facebook pages just to get people through the front door. Most of these sessions were 2 to 3 hours long, but very few actually paid on time. I remember there were late payments all the time. And people, even fewer people respected my time. Some artists would arrive late. Others wanted 5 versions of the same song, sometimes 10 versions. It was rough. I found myself working a lot. But I kept at it because in all of that chaos, I was learning. I was learning how to produce faster. I was learning how to talk to clients, how to interact with people, and how to manage energy when you're juggling multiple roles. I was the music producer. I was the engineer. I was the bartender. I was the person to clean up afterwards. I was the person leading people into the building, out of the building, to the bathroom. I was taking care of my clients because they were my clients and they were in my space. At that stage, I wasn't thinking about brand or systems or scalability. I was just trying to survive. Fast forward a few years, and I discovered voiceover. Voiceover happened almost by accident. I remember I was recording a client. There was a client who came in who wanted a voiceover done. So we recorded, and I gave them the raw recording, and I was like, what happens next? They're like, no, I'm going to send it off to the client, and that's it. I was like, oh, you're going to get paid for that? They were like, yes. I was like, I really want to be a part of that. So I remember going on to Google and downloading some sample scripts. I read a few of them and I had some samples on me, right? I started sending these samples out and I didn't get any replies. One of the people that I sent samples to was in fact a voiceover artist, and he gave me some good feedback. I just didn't know what to do with the feedback. I wasn't able to listen to my own voice because I was literally just reading the sample. This must have been around about 2018, and things only really started to pick up in 2022 when I discovered Fiverr. Fiverr gave me the platform, and over time, the skills started talking to each other. I was able to do voiceover. I was able to make beats, mix and master for clients. And that platform really brought all my skills together and allowed me to integrate the voiceover as part of my skill set. These very skills allowed me to leave my job in 2023 in April. And it allowed me to start building systems, right? And it must have taken about a year, maybe a year and a half for me to fully realize that systems work and there must be systems. It's literally systems over emotions every day. A big turning point for me was letting go of the ego. For a long time, I wanted to be discovered. I wanted the placements, the accolades, and the big wins. But what I needed was a system. That's when I started looking at everything like a business. I started tracking everything. I was tracking beat output. I was creating templates. I was automating emails. I was hiring help. Shout out to my assistant who assists me with all of my social media as well as my website. I was using tools like ChatGPT. I was using Canva, and soon I'll have a social media distribution platform that's going to assist me with putting out more content. I realized I didn't have to work harder to get more results. I just had to work smarter, and everything had to do with building systems. I was already good at what I did. I knew I had the skills, and most of my problems weren't skill problems. They were system problems because I didn't have any systems. Once I committed to that idea, things got so smooth. It didn't get easier, but it became smoother. After about a year of being in freelance, there was some harsh truths that I had to realize. I had actually left work some years earlier, in 2017, for about 2 years. And I had some harsh truths that I had to learn then, but I sort of had to relearn those harsh truths between 2023 and 2024. So I'll be honest here. This life that I'm living at the moment is not for everybody. You're going to have months where everything hits. Clients, royalties, sync placements, and you'll feel invincible. You'll be earning money and it will feel like Christmas. But then you'll have a month where no one emails back. Your Fiverr views just drop, they plummet. The royalty checks delay. And it feels like nothing is working. I feel like I'm sort of going through a period like that now. I'm on the other end of the really, really bad stuff, but it really did feel like for a moment things had just dried up. That is where mindset comes in, because the business of creativity is mostly mental. And if you don't have those systems in place, or you don't have routines, or you don't have anything grounding you, you'll just burn out. To be honest, what saved me was my routine. When things felt really bad, I would just go for a walk. I would block out time and I'd ensure that I did deep work. I tried to keep realistic expectations as well. And I try to remind myself that I'm building something with a 10-year lens, not a 10-day one. Because sometimes you can really get caught up in the today, the now. You're in your business. What needs to get done right now? When in actual fact, what you're building now is you're trying to stack small wins that will ultimately be that big victory that you'll get in 5 to 10 years' time. If there were some things that I had to point out that I would do differently, if I had to start over today, the first thing that I would do is I would document everything from day one. Not just for social media, but to track my progress. I'd build databases earlier as well, for beats, for clients, for invoices. I'd also build templates earlier as well, just to make my life easier. The second thing is I would talk more about what I do. So many people still have no idea what sync is or what I actually do. This is everybody, friends, colleagues, people I used to work with in the physiotherapy world. They never understood what I was doing. Even my parents and my family, they sort of get it, but they don't really get it. And I can sort of blame myself for that, because I kept all of this information to myself for way too long. Me putting out content really has changed that, because for people who want to understand what I do, I've put it out there and now they can go and have a look. 3, I would probably get more help sooner. Trying to do everything alone stunted my growth. When I started delegating and trusting others, my business expanded. Bringing in a social media manager helped me so much, because so much of me not putting stuff out was I would make it and it would just sit on my hard drive. But now I make it and I just pop it into a Google Drive. I don't have to really worry about getting it online. There's someone to do that for me, and that takes the anxiety out of that process. There is also video editing. Initially, I had no idea how to edit a video, and I had to pay people. I paid a couple of people. I actually have one collaborator that I still work with quite a bit now. I saw his video edits and I learned from him. So now I do edit my videos. It's very light editing. It's nothing too heavy, but at least I understand the process. And the only way I would have done that is to have trusted someone with my work at that stage. I wish I'd just done that earlier. Number 4, I would invest in visibility more. Doing small things here and there just to get my name out there more. Just something simple, like if you look at the 55 Rand TikTok promo, there's this small package that you can pay and you can reach people. And reaching those people will eventually bring those people back to you, possibly as an audience, and it'll be people who'll turn into fans, and ultimately they'll be paying customers. Not all of them, but some of them will. That strategic spending can make a real difference, especially when you already have the content and you're ready to put it out there. Fast forward to today, if we look at where I am right now, my business spans beats, sync licensing, voiceover, content creation, and coaching. I'm not a millionaire, but I've built freedom for myself. I've built some flexibility into my schedule, and I have enough momentum to know I'm heading in the right direction. It's not perfect, but at least I know I'm moving, and I'm moving towards what I think I want to achieve. And now I've just created this podcast to share the journey as it unfolds, not just the highlight reels. So I will be sharing the good and the bad. I wanted it to be audio only in the beginning, just purely because this gives me a chance to just wind down. I don't have to set up angles and try and film everything. It literally is just me explaining my story, and I hope you appreciate that. And I know that if you're listening, the chances are you're probably trying to build something similar to what I've built or what I'm trying to build as well. And I want this space to feel like home base, right? I want you to feel like you can just listen, whether you're walking somewhere, whether you are just, chilling in the house, whether you've got some time to spare, that you can just listen and, pick up a couple of things. So let's wrap this up. Let me bring this home. So, from recording rappers in my parents' house to building a system that supports my family, everything was rooted in creativity and taking action. That's all I can really say in there. And if you got something out of this, please let me know. You can leave a review. You can share this with another creative, someone else who needs to know, someone who needs that reminder that it is actually possible. And next week, we'll dive into charging what you're worth without feeling weird. I know this is something that a lot of creatives struggle with, especially in the beginning, and it continues on. I mean, I only really got over it about 1.5 years ago. So subscribe if you haven't already. I'm Adrian Silas, and this is the business of creativity, and we're just getting started. Peace.